Everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 6 of House of the Dragon, and as always, things are getting more tense, more crazy developments, and once again, we have another time jump. 10 years this time, which that is the biggest time jump that this show has had, and, look, they're doing really well with these time jumps in that it feels like any other show, this would be a huge problem. This would be a huge flaw in the narrative, like the pacing of everything, trying to get to know these characters. It's like, how do you know someone, and then like you have to skip 3 years and figure out all over again where their life is and what happened, But this show's been doing a good job of like picking exactly the perfect way to kind of like convey exactly what's been happening. So 10 years, we have new actors actually. Actresses playing Rihanna and Alicent. I'm trying to get the names down. I'm trying so hard to get the names down. And there's like 4 TV shows all happening at once, and there's so many names to learn. It might not ever happen fully, but anyways, here we are. So we got new actresses, which they all fit right in. And they all did a really good job of like hey, this actor aged 10 years. Yeah, I could definitely see this transition pretty easily, right? So it works for me. No problems there at all. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the King Viserys, man, he is he is just falling apart. His arm is gone now. He's balding. Someone said that he had leprosy, which makes a lot of sense. Like he's just literally rotting away, and it's crazy. Someone made a joke that like in another 10 years he's gonna look like the Crypt Keeper, which that's pretty funny. Anyways, so right now everyone has kids. The show begins with Rihanna and her husband. She married her cousin, who they have the dark-skinned Valerian family, and she married her cousin, which was their son. And right now she is delivering her 3rd baby. The only problem, of course, is that none of her kids, baby included, look like their supposed father. Which, of course, remember they had that arrangement where like he can go have his boyfriends, she can go have her boyfriends. They can kind of do their own thing. It's all political, right? Sounds cool. Problem: the kids don't look like the dad, and it's like this big open secret that like everyone's just like, we have eyes. We know, like they don't have the white hair. They have really white skin. It's like they look, in fact, more like the leader of the City Watch. I think that's what it is. His name is Harwin Strong, I believe. I might get the first name wrong, but Strong, and that is the son of the new Hand of the King. Remember, we got a new Hand of the King because they got Otto Hightower out of there. So you got a new Hand of the King, and his oldest son, seemingly, but absolutely definitely, is the father of these 3 kids of the princess. And it's like this big open secret no one wants to talk about. And now it's important to note, the Hand of the King also has a younger son who we've seen before. He's the guy who like he walks around on a cane, and he's gonna make some big moves this episode. So it's important to get to know this guy. He's essentially the new Littlefinger, you could say, right? He's basically taking that character slot of Littlefinger. So we'll get into all that. But yeah, big open secret, and it's like, okay, whatever, no big deal. But of course, Alicent, she is not happy about any of this, and she's like basically driving herself crazy, saying like, is no one else noticing this? Is no one else gonna say anything? The fact that like literally her kids look like someone else's kids. But of course, King Viserys just trying to keep the peace, trying to keep everything cool, and that's like pretty much been his his MO for like the whole show is like, we don't want war, we don't want conflict, everything's gonna be cool. He wants to reign peacefully. He's already said Rhaenyra's the heir, and then her kids are gonna be the next heirs. Everything's fine, but Alicent, of course, is not gonna let this be fine, and we're gonna get into all this. So what happens is that and by the way, Alicent and Sir Criston, the guy who what do they say, took Rihanna's V card, that's the way that people have been putting it. of course, he was gonna kill himself after that whole outrage in the last episode, which again, that was 10 years ago. So I'm trying to keep my timeline of events correct. But he was gonna kill himself, and then Alicent said, "No, don't do it." And now we know, basically, he's become like her guard, but also like her co-conspirator into like they both basically just sit around talking shit about Rihanna all day. You know, like it feels like they haven't made a move in the last 10 years, but this episode, some shit goes down. So Sir Criston is training all four of the boys, which, forgot to mention, Alicent has also had two children. I think 2 or 3. Maybe she's pregnant with a third. Which of course are now they already had the baby Aegon, right? Who's like basically the main competitor for the throne from Rihanna. Like it's the king's now firstborn male. But they've also had 2 more kids. I think they're all boys, right? Or maybe there was one girl in there. Not really sure. There's a lot of kids. Okay, that's my point. There's a lot of kids. Anyways, they're all training. Sir Criston's training them all with their sword fighting. The king's like, oh, they're gonna get along. They're gonna grow up together. It's all gonna be great. And then of course Sir Criston is, he's kind of treating the not white-haired kids, the kids who look like someone else's kids. He's kind of treating them kind of like crap, training them like kind of half-assed, right? And of course their actual dad, the Harwin. Yeah, I got these names. I got to keep it all together. Harwin's there, and he's like, hey, you could train these kids as well, right? Like they are gonna be the heirs of the throne one day, right? And of course, Sir Criston's kind of being an asshole about all this whole situation, kind of being like, oh yeah, you care a lot about these kids, almost like you're their father. He doesn't say it like that, but he makes that insinuation very publicly, and so Harwin just has to beat the shit out of this guy, which he deserves it, right? It's like, okay, yes, he's correct, right? Like, it is, but still, it's like, you're doing all this because what? Rihanna wouldn't run away with you? Is that what all this is about? Is that why you're so bitter about all this? It's crazy. Anyway, so he beats him up, and then they have to take him away, and of course, that's only going to make things worse, rumor-wise, because now everyone's going to be like, oh, he got all mad about that. Ooh, that must mean it's true, which, yes, it is, but still, Anyways, so he's going to get taken home, and the hand of the king, his father, is like, okay, I got to resign. We all know what's happening, but also, like, that display pretty much just confirms it in everyone's mind, so he tries to retire, but the king's like, no, you can't retire because you've actually been doing a really good job as Hand of the King. You're not like, you don't have all these selfish goals. You don't have all these schemes and plans like pretty much everyone else in this world. You're actually a good guy. And he's like, okay, well, at least let me take my son back to Harrenhal, which he will one day inherit, right? Like, let me take my son back, right? And this is where things get kind of intense. So, oh, man. So on one hand, we have Rihanna, who's basically told her husband to, like, all right, husband, gather your boyfriend, gather your things. We're going to go to Dragonstone. We're going to leave this place. There's rumors and stuff, and they had this whole thing about, like, a good sailor leaves when the storm is brewing, right? So they're going to go to Dragonstone. They're getting the hell out of here, right? They're like, we should have done this years ago, which, of course, her big worry this whole time, why they haven't, is that, like, if she's not there to, like, basically just remind everyone, I'm gonna be the heir of the throne and you can't change that, then the queen might start whispering things in the king's ear, saying, like, oh, she's not even here. Oh, the kids aren't even, full Targaryens. They're actually, this other guy's, so maybe you should let your firstborn son be the king, and of course we know this conflict is happening. How it's going to happen, when the king's going to change his mind, or maybe he doesn't change his mind. Maybe the queen kind of forges a document, kind of like Ned Stark sort of did, basically it's a big problem. It's a big problem leaving the queen there alone with the king, and her not being there. But she decides to leave for Dragonstone. And meanwhile, all this is happening. The queen meets with I don't. What is his name? It's Lyle. I think it's Lyle Strong. I think that's it. It is the youngest son of the hand, the current hand of the king. The younger son, and remember the older son is the one who has been making babies with the princess. The younger son has been meeting with the queen, and they've been kind of sinister plotting together, you know. So now the queen has Sir Kristen and this guy, who's basically the little finger of the show, and she starts complaining about how like it's crazy that no one does anything about this. You know, my kids should absolutely be, you know, the heirs and all this, right? The same kind of things that basically her father put in her head, right? Worries about like if she ascends the throne, then her kids will be hunted down and all that. Which, hey, maybe she's right, but still, you know, like that's just how it is. No, but basically, what ends up happening is that this guy, this younger brother, Lyle, I think it's Lyle. I'm gonna say Lyle Strong. So he comes up with this plan, right? He's like, okay, queen, I'm going to take care of things. And of course, you're going to owe me a favor because I'm going to take care of all this stuff for you in a really sinister, sneak way. He gets a whole bunch of prisoners out of the jail. He takes out their tongues so they can't talk to anybody. And he sends them all on a little mission in exchange for their freedom. Saying, all right, you're going to go back to Harrenhal. You're going to burn my brother and my father alive. This way, the king will need a new hand, right? He'll need a new hand of the king. And the baby daddy of the princess's kids, he's out of the picture now, right? I'm not entirely sure how that, like, changes anything about the succession, right? The heir of succession and all that. But it does definitely, like, get them off the playing field at least, right? And so, he basically tells the princess that he did all this. And he's like, you're going to have to call your father, right? You're gonna have to go call your dad? And so now this is definitely how Otto Hightower is going to come on back into the picture, which it's only going to make everything worse, and the king's health is getting worse, and oh man, everything's going to crap. Now, meanwhile, there's been a whole other plotline happening that was separate from all of this. Okay, so we have Daemon, and he's been staying... I don't even know what... he's been staying somewhere else. Not at... He has not been staying in Westeros. They're like in some other... I don't know if they're in Dorne or where they are exactly. I didn't catch it. But basically, they're staying somewhere else. They've been there for several years. He has married the daughter of the sea snake. Basically, the sister of the person that Rihanna married. I don't remember. The Valerians, right? Yeah. What was her name? Is it Lyanna? Lyanna Valerian? Anyways, they have a couple kids. I think they're all girls. He's had nothing but girls, right? With Lyanna, right? And they've been living there in Dorne. I'm gonna say it's Dorne. I think so. And basically, like, you know, he's being told like, oh, you got dragons. You can help us do this. You can help us do that. In exchange for just money and comfort and housing and all this stuff that they've enjoyed over the years, right? And so that's basically what he's been doing. He's like, yeah, I'll use my dragons to help you do this. And he doesn't want to be with all the politics, with all this stuff that basically makes him do horrible things, or, you know, I mean, they say that. And then at some point, you know, his wife kind of goes on about how, like, you know, I know life sucks, and maybe I wasn't the one you wanted to marry, and, you know, all this and that. And then she talks about how she wants to die a dragon rider's death. She doesn't want to die like just some pampered royal, you know. And then things get kind of dark. So basically, she's pregnant with the third kid, and it's not coming. And they talk about how, like, well, we could do a C-section, we could, you know, but obviously this is medieval, you know, Game of Thrones times or whatever. So it's not going to be like a clean operation. Basically, the exact same thing that happened to Rihanna's mother. You know, they're basically contemplating the exact situation, right? And she overhears this, of course, and she knows what's about to happen. So she runs out, and she gets her own dragon. Which, by the way, it's a cool looking dragon. This is like a really cool. He's got like, how did you describe it? He doesn't have like the long serpentine type neck that like Daemon's dragon has. He's got like this, like, he's more of an alligator looking thing, you know what I mean? Like not like snout wise, but like I guess the thickness of his neck is like an alligator's. Anyways, she gets her own dragon to light her on fire, and so she dies by dragon fire, which is how she would definitely prefer to go out than, you know, just trying to save this baby, which probably won't live because that's, you know, this is what happened last time, right? So she goes out that way, and he seems to really care, and that's the thing. It's hard to gauge when Daemon actually cares, especially though it's been 10 years. It's like, was all this part of a plot, or like, does he really care about her? You know, like, it's hard to tell with Daemon, you know, like sometimes he's been pretty brutal and sinister as well, and he's willing to, like, we know what happened to his last wife, right? Like, he got her killed, so it's like, does he care? I guess he cared. It's hard to tell. But yeah, so now we have Daemon, no wife, and a handful of daughters, right? And he's stayed away from all the politics of it, but now he's all alone. And now we have Rhaena, who's run off to Dragonstone with her, you know, her current husband, but also her boyfriend, the father of her kids. He's gone too. I don't think she knows that yet, but he's also gone now. So now basically we have an opening, and if, you know, spoiler alert for, I guess, the what's going to happen because of the book, right? And, you know, not that I read the book, but it was kind of like inevitable that, like, through social osmosis I would pick up what is going to happen next. Rhaena and Daemon are going to end up together. Now, what happens to her current husband, I don't know, but probably nothing great in this world. So that's going to be a thing. And yeah, just crazy tension. Otto Hightower is going to come back, and he's going to find a way to get the king to agree to, like, yeah, let's make your son the heir, you know, my grandson. Let's make him the actual king, and that's not going to sit right with Rhaena, but of course she's got the problem of none of her kids look like her kids. Well, I mean, they're her kids, but, you know, they don't look like Targaryens. They don't have the white hair, right? So that's a problem. Yeah, just fascinating stuff. We're getting, like, vibes of Joffrey, you know, the whole Joffrey situation with the wrong colored hair, you know. And then, of course, just sneaking and murdering. And it's kind of fascinating that this show can introduce a character that, you know, even though we've technically seen these characters before, they haven't done much up to this point. You know, like, we'll have what's it, Lyle Strong, right? We'll have this new Littlefinger type character he's been in a handful of scenes, but he hasn't done much, and this is like his first big move, and we already know everything we need to know about this guy, you know, like, we're already, like, fully invested on this, like, sneaky little someone compared him to Randall from Recess. And then, of course, we have Harwin Strong, his older brother, who, like, again, he's only done, like, a couple of things in some of these episodes. He has not been, like, a main character with a bunch of lines or anything. He's, you know, we've seen him, like, in the background. And yet, suddenly, it's like, oh, no, he's, like, a main character of this episode, and now he's gone, you know? So this show has a quick turnaround of, like, introducing a character, they're really important to the plot, and then maybe they'll die this very episode, which is interesting that this show's managing to do it so well. And I will say, you know, the people behind the show, they're very, very good at balancing things. Because, like I said, even these time jumps, it feels like it would be so easy to mess up these time jumps. Like, I feel like I'm getting all the information I need to know, and I'm not really missing out on anything. You know, like they're very quickly gonna be like, okay, so Daemon and his wife, they've just been gone for maybe 10 years, maybe only a couple years, but that's all you need to know, is that they've been gone for a while, you know? Just stuff like that, where it's like, did anything significant happen in that time? Maybe, but not important to the plot right now, you know? So, it's, yeah, they're doing a good job. You know, I'm still, like, everyone's still fully invested, and the show, I think, I didn't look at the numbers, but the numbers are great. That's all I know. So just, yeah, they're doing it. They're pulling it off. I think, I have no idea how this season ends, because, of course, we know that there's a war a-brewing, and with these time jumps, it's like, are we going to skip to the war, like, pretty quickly, or is the war, like, slowly going to creep up, right? Because, you know, obviously it's been, the show started 13 years ago, right? So it's like, I don't know, this war's been creeping on everyone's mind for a while, but nothing's happened yet, you know, nothing. worth declaring war over has happened yet, but you know, the second the king dies, I imagine that's when everything's gonna go horribly, horribly wrong. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right, let me know what you guys think of House of the Dragon. Let me know what you think might happen next. And Otto Hightower coming back. That's, you know, that kind of feels like the beginning of the end of peacetime, right? Like Otto coming back. Oh, the big schemer guy, right? Oh man. All right, we'll see where that goes. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.